You're listening to Ride Along, EMT School. I'm Mike.
And I'm Max. We're two students navigating EMT school, bringing you along week by week.
And I'm Jonathan, a paramedic bringing real-world perspective.
Join us as we share the lessons, challenges, and stories from EMT school, and hear insights from those already living the EMS life. Welcome to the Ride Along. All right, and we're here. We're back here at the Ride Along EMT School podcast.
Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. We're rashing against the machine this week.
We are rashing against the machine.
You got to do what they told you.
You have to do it.
You got to do what they told you. You got to do what they told you. I don't know the rest of the song. But.
Yeah, it's a great song though.
And what they told you is to make sure that somebody can breathe.
It helps. Generally, that leads to bad things if they don't.
Generally,
or more calls for us.
Well, it's that's the dichotomy of EMS, right? Like you want to be able to go do something, but yes. You doing something means that somebody's like hurt or sick.
It's bad things.
Yeah. It's never a good day when we're called. Somebody's having the worst day of their life, but we want to get out there and do these skills and put what we've learned to the test, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that is a hard mentality to have. When so last week I did a volunteer shift. So I went to class.
He did.
And after class drove to the ambulance squad and then sat in the ambulance squad for 8 hours straight overnight.
He did.
Because it's the only time I have available because I don't really have a lot of time nowadays. So I was like, okay, well maybe I'll catch a call overnight. Nope, not a one. And like there wasn't anything going on for like that 24-hour period.
Exactly.
Yeah. You are a white cloud, Mike.
I am a white cloud. I'm okay with that. It means that people aren't sick and hurt. However, it's really hard to get patient contacts for class.
Right. And it's not like we're allowed to start accidents or anything like that. So we have to wait for the calls.
Right. Yeah. Like the whole reason I became an EMT was so that I wasn't the weird guy rolling around, like looking for people who's hurt on my own.
And yet.
Yeah, I might have to. Oh man, it's hard to keep grounded, keep yourself grounded in that mindset of like, you know what? Nothing happened today. That's a good day.
It's a good day. The problem is the patient contacts that we need for class to be able to pass class that we have to get.
Yeah.
I have had one exciting one and that wasn't even a call.
Yeah.
It was a ride to Walmart that happened upon it. So come on, I need something. Help me here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to this and you live in the lower Bucks, upper Montgomery County area in Pennsylvania, this Friday night, please call with your nags and your pains and your coughs and your wheezes, so I can get what I need.
This is like a month delay. Right.
Either way,
they're not listening right now.
Be careful what you wish for, Max.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's some poor soul that's going to be like doing a Friday night shift like a month from now.
Why do they keep calling and asking for Max?
Yeah. Yeah. So we have allergies tonight.
Yes.
Yeah. So I have not seen one yet on one of my ride-alongs. How about you?
Nope.
No. Jonathan, have you ever seen allergies?
Yes, indeed I have.
It's a good thing we have him around.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
He's way more experienced than we are. Yeah.
It's one of those things that, man, it's so hard to track. Just like we were talking about with, getting calls or people, you're trying to get your contacts or whatever. Sometimes you're just not going to see certain things as frequently as we talk about them in an educational environment. But yeah, it ran plenty of allergic and anaphylactic reaction calls through my career. Matter of fact, I had a patient the other week. We were doing some transports to a facility so they could have a procedure done. which involved IV contrast for a CT scan, and they gave him the CT scan, and he had a reaction to the IV contrast.
Oh,
So he wasn't quite into anaphylaxis territory, but it was definitely an allergic reaction. So he got some medication to deal with that.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's one of those things that you do see a fair amount of. Lots of people that maybe we weren't aware, in years past, of them having allergies to certain things, but because of medicine, we've started to realize that lots of people are allergic to a lot of things, and something we can keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we have, I'm sure we're going to see it a ton, like throughout a career in terms of anaphylaxis and
I'm sure.
and allergies. 'Cause everyone gets, nowadays it seems like everyone has allergies, like to either dye contrast, like it could be as obscure as that, or the ever present peanut allergy,
Oh, come on. Yeah.
Shellfish.
I mean, that one I remember as a kid. I don't ever remember ever hearing someone say, I have a peanut allergy when I was a child.
I don't remember it either, honestly.
Shellfish, yes. I knew someone that had that. But like when you were saying with the IV fluid, like the thing they're allergic to didn't come in contact with their hand or wasn't breathing through their lungs. It was injected into their bloodstream.
Right.
So it may be something they had like a minor or a non-existent allergic reaction to outside their body, but here it is flooding their body through their blood system, and it's like that could get nasty fast.
Well, and with that particular patient, I watched his demeanor immediately change.
Okay.
He was laughing and joking, and we were having conversations the whole way, and he had the procedure. And then we, got him back in the ambulance. And within a span of 5 minutes, he was a completely different person.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this is what this is. And it's, the only reason I figured that's what it was related to is I've had some other calls in the past where people are allergic to that contrast dye. And unfortunately, until you've had it, you don't know if you're going to, because it was the only thing that changed.
Right.
So,
and the weird thing about allergies in general too is that the first time that guy got like contrast dye, he may not have been allergic to it because it only happens on the second time.
Right.
Like the first time you ever get exposed to an allergen, you don't actually have an allergic reaction to it until your body builds up like this well, I can get into it in a minute, but like the like you don't get a reaction the first time. You only get it the second time or beyond. Which is like, so like somebody could have that random thing like, oh, I got a contrast dye. Well, who would ever think that they're allergic to contrast dye? And then boom, the next time it's like you're almost dying because you got the CT.
Yeah. 100%. And the, like you're saying, Mike, we're going to get into it, but each subsequent exposure could be from a mild reaction, and then eventually we get into anaphylaxis.
Right. So I think anaphylaxis is a great segue because that's the name of the girl I sat behind in 6th grade.
Did you pull her ponytails?
I threw spitballs at her.
Nice.
No. Just so happens that her name was Anaphylaxis.
Nice.
No. There was a girl named Anna in grade school. But anaphylaxis is the medical term of the week this week.
It's an appropriate one.
It is very appropriate. It is probably the most common or used term when we're talking about these very serious allergic reactions.
Yes.
Right. So there is a definition of it.
Mm-hmm.
It is the severe life-threatening allergic reaction involving multiple body systems. So it has rapid onset and requires immediate intervention.
Right.
It is deadly right now. Like you
Yes.
need to react to, like when you see it, you need to react to it right away. But why? Why is it? So I took a bit of a deep dive into it today because sometimes I get really curious about the mechanism of disease, if you will. That's a terminology for figuring, like, what is going on in the body for that thing to actually happen. And they don't really go into that specifically in the class. So I was like, all right, I need to scratch that itch a little bit. So it is a massive histamine release.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, a massive histamine release. So then the next thing what is histamine? Like I'm like, all right, I'm going deeper down the hole, right? So histamine is a chemical that exists within mast cells and basophil cells. And then I was like, okay, well, now I need to learn what mast cells and basophil cells are. I'm like, this is getting too deep, right? So mast cells, they're immune cells found in tissues, and they kind of stay in the tissues. And then basophils are a type of white blood cell, and those move around the body. So you have these two kind of complementary types of cells in your body that contain a bunch of histamine.
Right.
And histamine is a thing that when it gets released in the body is actually supposed to do a specific job, and that is defend against invaders.
Right.
Right.
Now, it's usually against very specific types of invaders, things that are like, parasitic worms and arthropods or venoms and toxins from animals and stuff like that.
Right.
So when you get those things, your body is supposed to do this process where the basophils and the mast cells release histamine, and then it creates the allergic reaction and a host of different things that come from that release. And that doesn't happen until your body actually gets exposed to these things. So when you get an allergen in your body, it enters the body and then creates a thing called immunoglobulin.
Nice.
E.
Well done.
Yeah, I can't even say it a second time. Immunoglobulin E. Also, it's usually referred to as IgE.
That's much easier.
Yeah, way easier. But it's more alphabet soup of EMS. But so IgE attaches to the mast cells and basophils and basically makes a trigger, right? Like it's like a pre-programmed response. So if those cells see that thing again, that's when it goes, hey, we need to release all the histamine we have. And that's what should happen, except the human body apparently did not evolve with some of these modern allergens. Now, when we say modern allergens, like peanuts, like the human body when it was going through evolution didn't eat peanuts because they're like processed nowadays and they're roasted and they're things that weren't necessarily part of the natural evolutionary diet of humans.
Right.
Hence why humans get like treat that type of stuff as an allergen instead of just a regular food item. So that's why it stands out from other types of foods.
Because the body didn't evolve processing it.
Right. Same thing with like shellfish. So humans probably didn't have a huge diet in shellfish through the evolutionary process because, you could probably make the argument that like near seashores and stuff that humans might have, but still it's not like a land animal.
Right.
Where we're eating a lot of those or root vegetables or things like that.
I'm sure depending on where that body of humans evolved, like if they're on an island, they probably have very low counts of shellfish allergies.
Exactly.
Versus.
So the human body evolved this process, this invader response process. But there's these allergens that happen in quote unquote modern world where it's like, peanuts or shellfish that when it gets into the body throws it haywire.
Right.
Because if an invader came in, what it's supposed to do is shut some things down. So the reason why the body has these things that happen, such as like when you have anaphylaxis, you get bronchoconstriction. That's the closing of the bronchioles in the lungs. Well, that's actually supposed to be a good thing because what it's doing is it's restricting the invaders from going deeper into the lungs so that they get more entrenched.
Right.
Right.
But it's only supposed to happen at one specific part where those invaders are.
Right.
Same thing with like hypotension. So when this immune response makes the vessels open up, it vasodilates, right?
Right.
But there's a reason for that. It's because it increases blood flow. And by increasing blood flow, you're allowing more mast cells, is it the basophils, to go around the body. You're allowing the immune system to leak and flow more so that there are more immune system cells, more T cells going to the areas that could be affected. So it's supposed to increase blood flow.
Right.
The nausea and vomiting that happen from it is because it's trying to expel stuff that's in the stomach because you might have a parasite or invader. So all these things that happen, the key signs that we associate with anaphylaxis are supposed to happen. But the problem is those modern allergens trigger everything all at once.
Right.
It doesn't have a targeted response at one specific part of the body. It becomes a systemic response. So essentially your entire body all at once is acting like there's invaders attacking from all angles. And that's why it's like your body going haywire. So it's all the things that should be happening, but the problem is that they all happen right now.
Right.
All of them. Release them all. Release all of the histamine. Right. So it's an allergic reaction. It's the same thing that happens with an allergen, like any regular allergen, but it's happening so violently and so systemically that the body is not going to be able to handle it. I was like, oh man, that's an interesting story that I don't think they really kind of dive too much into in class.
They definitely did.
And we're going to get more into it, but one of the key components of anaphylaxis is it doesn't have to be all of those body systems reacting all at once. It can just be two.
Yeah, it's just more than one.
More than one. It can just be two. So that's you might not see all of the things happening all at once, but you might see a couple of the things, and that still may be leading down that path of anaphylaxis.
Right. And there's like I mentioned a few of them, like the key signs. Some of the things that you normally see in any type of like even a mild allergic reaction. So like hives, swelling, rashes, that kind of facial swelling stuff. Wheezing and stridor, which may come from the bronchoconstriction, like the upper airway, or beginning to kind of close up, and it causes restriction. Hypotension, which is from that vasodilation, and all of a sudden the blood vessels are opening up, and the blood pressure is dropping. Nausea, vomiting, abdominal cramps, and then the one that always kind of pops up that always fascinates me is the anxiety or sense of doom, because I think it seems like that is sometimes related to the idea of the lowering blood pressure. I think people feel that happening and go, "This doesn't feel good."
Yeah.
Let's not forget the urticaria and like the rash, the hives.
Yes,
that aspect as well.
Mm-hmm. So like there is a whole host of things that could happen, and it doesn't mean that all of them are happening at once, but it means that multiple things are having that reaction at the same time, and it's happening systemically. So yeah, that's anaphylaxis.
There you go.
For the medical term of the week.
I think it's basically the core of that whole chapter.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much everything.
And also like something that we can intervene with.
Yeah, well, that's
like we have key interventions to save someone's life if they're going through this.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is very interesting for what we're doing and what we're learning.
Yeah, and I think the first thing that we learned is that there's a difference that we have to look out for in terms of anaphylaxis versus allergies.
Right.
And that to me, it doesn't seem so cut and dry, because like if you show up on a scene, like, and we're going to like, this is the kind of key concept of anaphylaxis that like really struck me, is that you have to be able to start recognizing it from the scene size up. From like from the dispatch, right? Like, hey, you're responding to a bee sting. Okay, well, immediately going through my head is going to be like, hey, this could very well be an anaphylaxis case, right? Or from the initial assessment where you're seeing like, oh, they're bent over and tripoding and they're having trouble breathing. Mm-hmm. Well, you may not have the additional information of what is going on, but like, hey, any type of information that you might get from that, like, can immediately prompt you to then start treating for anaphylaxis, right?
I mean, even in the back,
go ahead.
even in the back of your mind, for nausea, vomiting, you could be thinking, all right, what's a differential? It may not be the most likely thing, but what is a differential? I should ask when I go through my sample history and I ask about allergies, we might find out that, oh, I'm allergic to shellfish. Oh, okay. Well, somebody made some dip and we had it at work, and now I'm nausea vomiting.
And you're like putting together dots for people for them. Like you would think they would do it, but then you may have to be the one going like, well, what did you eat today? Well, I had a peanut butter cracker. Was that a peanut butter cracker? Like, are you allergic to peanuts? Yeah. Oh yeah, I didn't think those were in the cracker. Like, it's like you could be the one, shining that light on it for them.
Well, the other side of it too is if they're in that position and they're really at that point, where their body's shutting down, they're having trouble breathing, them having the recollection ability to say, yeah, I have this allergy, may not exist. You know what I mean? You may have to kind of lead them into it versus other things where you want them to kind of lead the conversation or lead the answer instead of leading them into an answer. In this case, you may have to do it for them.
Yeah. Like you may have to try and cut to the chase.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so, and then, recognizing that versus just a standard allergy, like,
right.
I think it would be difficult. Just in my head, like, okay, I'm showing up on scene. I see somebody with like hives around their neck. Like, I think that's probably a difficult decision to make of like, well, are they having any breathing problems? Well, no, but it looks like they're really red around their neck. It's like, ooh, well, is that anaphylaxis or is that just an allergy?
Right.
Right.
And I think that would have to like, if they're not showing signs of multiple systems. So if they're not having airway, then that's more of an allergy, right? Oh, I'm just itchy and swollen around the neck. While that may look like, oh, that's the part where the body breathes. Like, I don't want anything happening to the neck. Well, it's not the inside of the neck. It's not, you're not having airway swollen. So that's, I think, harder to kind of swallow, or like, and then there's a whole host of things where it may just be like, on the skin, where it's like, oh, well, that's obviously more of an allergic reaction, where it's like, poison ivy or some other topical thing that happened.
Yeah.
I guess the rash.
Contact dermatitis.
Contact dermatitis. Yeah. That stuff sucks.
I've never
whatever it comes from.
But I think the other thing too is you should hold that in like reserve. Like, okay, like it isn't there yet. It might not be at that point yet, but I need to be ready to administer that thing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting kind of side note from allergens that can really throw a wrench in the works. I just remembered this from back in my Boy Scout days. So there was once an issue where there were some scouts in a neighboring troop at camp. They had to get hospitalized because they had, because poison ivy is an allergen, right? It usually just gets on the skin, the oil seeps in, and then you get contact dermatitis from luckily, I mean, knock on wood, I think I'm one of the like 30% of people that are not allergic to poison ivy, which is awesome. Like that's a superpower in and of itself. But they took that poison ivy and didn't realize it was there and then threw it on the fire. Like it was mixed in with wood. And that didn't aerosolize it, but then that kind of smoke and I guess maybe aerosolization, whatever you want to call it,
Jesus Christ,
turned it into like basically an instant anaphylaxis type situation where it started swelling their throats and all these other things. So luckily they were fine, but it's an interesting thing of how one allergen that may not be so serious, because while poison ivy is terrible, it's not typically one of the ones that's going to cause anaphylaxis, or at least from what I know. But man,
you get it in your
lungs, and that, well, that's going to start swelling up your airway and stuff, and that's not good.
Yeah.
So, and that can happen from it comes from sometimes the least likely situations. So like foods, we've talked about a bunch, right? Like, and you don't know what food can be so deadly to somebody. Like peanuts were one of the ones that like obviously we hone in on, but this shellfish stuff, like, things as simple as grains nowadays apparently can make people
gluten allergies.
so violently ill.
I grew up with some kids that were allergic to chocolate. So anytime they had like a birthday party or something and somebody brought cupcakes in, it would have to be non-chocolate cupcakes, or there'd have to be an option for those kids to have something else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anything and everything you can think of could be an allergen that could lead to anaphylaxis,
right?
Or just an allergic reaction.
I have an uncle who can't eat onions because he's deathly allergic to them. I'm like, that's rough. I don't know if I would want to go through life without onions, because those are awesome.
And that's one of those things where, like, once they're cooked down, you may not have any idea it's in there.
Right, it goes into everything. It's like being allergic to salt.
Yes,
like it's literally in every food ever.
Well, and then now you have the Lone Star tick.
Oh, where you become allergic to beef?
Red meat.
Yeah,
yeah.
I just put me to pasture. Like if I can't eat meat anymore, I don't know. I don't think I want to go on.
God. And they found it in New Jersey, apparently.
Yeah, I know.
It's all over the United States.
It's crazy.
But you might get those allergens from other things too. Like, I mean, how many people do we know that are allergic to bee stings?
My wife.
Oh, is she?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like those type of insect allergens, like that is, I mean, bee stings being the big one, but I'm sure there's probably others too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Pet dander. I mean, like it could be. My father was very, very allergic to cats. We didn't have cats in the house because of how allergic he was. But we would go visit people, and I mean, just being in the same house where a cat had been, not just touching the cat, but just being in the same house, he'd get to sneezing and his eyes would water. And I mean, and seasonal allergies are a big thing for folks too.
Yeah.
I've got pollen and grass.
Oh yeah.
Those are both big things for me.
And those are it's everywhere. You walk outside, it's all over your car.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
from about April until about now in November, I got to take allergy medicine because of pollen and grass and seasonal allergens. It wasn't great growing up in a rural place and having to like do outdoor activities and not being treated for a pollen allergy or a grass allergy.
Mommy, Daddy, why does nature hate me?
Yeah. Well, and that's the crazy thing about like allergic reactions too, is like it's not. Well, we're kind of referring to it in the. Oh well, here's column A, which is allergies, and here's column B, which is anaphylaxis. Like it seems like it really lives on a spectrum where there's you can have very mild allergies all the way up to like a bleeding edge between like, well, it may only be one allergen, like it may just be an irritation of the throat, but that irritation of the throat could be so bad that like that's life threatening, right? So it's on this scale of like severity level where even those common allergens, like you might normally be okay going outside during October where the mold starts growing, or hay fever or all that stuff. But then one year you can go outside, you might get so bad that it's bordering on that anaphylaxis.
And doesn't it like recycle itself every 7 years or something like that?
Oh, I don't know, but like your body is going to have different reactions, and like you could have more severe reactions to allergens over time, which is kind of that whole story of like the first time you're exposed to something, you don't get a response to it because your body hasn't built up the immunoglobulin. I got it right that time.
That was good.
But like that it's not an on or off switch, right?
No.
It's sometimes you may have more or less of a reaction, which is crazy.
Right. The first time I ever baled hay. The first time I ever baled hay. It was hot and whatever, but that wasn't the issue. It was being exposed to grass. I mean, I had hives all over my arms, and I was sick for 3 days after because of getting hay dust in my lungs and everything. So if I do it now, I have to wear long sleeves. I pre-dose myself with a Benadryl or an antihistamine, and I have to wear an N95 just to be able to do that job. So
that's not the job for you, sir.
Yeah.
In case you haven't realized it,
somebody's got to do it.
Well, what symptoms have you guys seen from just allergies?
Well, I mean, all of my kids, including the wife, all have the seasonal stuff. So you start hearing the congestion. You start seeing the constant runny noses, coughing, sneezing, itching, itchy eyes, itchy nose.
Yep. So
you know.
the itchy mucous membranes and stuff, like the eyes, that's a big one. Watery nose, watery eyes, where like, your body just starts like excreting like fluid. It's the most annoying thing in the world, I think. I personally get sometimes I get allergy reactions that are so bad that I become I get breathing problems, coughing fits because I get postnasal drip, which basically starts filling my lungs with liquid. So kind of like a pleural edema type thing. But yeah, like you could start having complications just from, common allergies.
Yeah.
Right.
But swelling, I think, is a big one too.
Yeah.
My mom, she gets the pet dander stuff. So like her hands will start swelling if she like pets a cat.
Yeah.
She has 2 cats. I don't understand why.
That's an interesting choice in life.
Yep. She's, okay, mom. She just like doses herself with Benadryl every day, but some people just love cats. I don't know.
Here's a movie reference for you guys. Do you guys remember in the Eddie Murphy Dr. Dolittle? He was a human doctor in that particular movie, and he had the patient that was allergic to shellfish, and then she kept eating shellfish.
Yes,
and he's like, "Ma'am, I told you can't eat shellfish," and she's like, "I took it out of the shell."
Yep. Shrimp is delicious.
It is delicious.
I still remember watching the episode of Fear Factor where the girl had an anaphylactic reaction to eating cockroaches.
Oh yeah, because they're basically the same thing as
And
shellfish.
and when I heard this, like, oh my god, they're the same thing. They're the cockroaches of the sea. That's like been burnt into my memory.
Yeah, but lobsters are delicious cockroaches. I get it. It's
cockroaches might be delicious cockroaches. Who knows?
I bet you if you like, steamed a cockroach, broke it open, then took out its little abdomen muscles and then put some butter and lemon on it,
it'd be great.
It probably wouldn't be that bad.
Especially when like the hissing cockroaches, the big Madagascar ones.
Gross.
Speaking of
welcome to the Fear Factor podcast, everybody.
I mean, speaking of cockroaches, I mean, like it's near impossible to eliminate all contaminants that might come into contact with like food products. One of the things I have heard about and seen is people being they can't drink coffee because at some point a cockroach has gotten into that vat of coffee that they're like the grounds, and so they're like chopped up in there, and
there's a probably a legally allowed amount of
cockroach
parts in coffee.
So and so I've heard of people saying, "Hey, I have to avoid coffee because of these insect parts that might be in it."
That's crazy.
There's something to think about.
How about hives? Have you guys ever gotten hives?
I don't have any allergies.
Well, I mean, that's great.
So I've never had it personally, but
I have gotten hives. I remember I got it the first time when I was a kid from a pine tree, and I don't think I've ever gotten it since then. But there was something that was in that pine tree that I had all these little red bumps after I went in like under a pine tree to grab like a ball or something. That was interesting. They didn't really hurt, but they suck, and they look.
Sure.
All of a sudden, your family thinks you have the measles, which is not great.
No.
But sometimes just the general redness, right? That kind of contact dermatitis, and that can get really bad.
Yes.
I've seen.
Actually, I'm wrong. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I once got, I don't think it was poison ivy because I've never gotten poison ivy, but I've gotten something that, I remember I was doing, it was actually after a class where I was using tourniquets. So there was something on a tourniquet that gave me some bit of contact dermatitis, and I think using tourniquets aggravated it. And I had this big old, like, gross, like, like big old boil on my skin that got from from
Yeah.
like an allergic reaction, or it started
Right.
as an allergic reaction and then turned into something more serious.
Yeah, I can't use deodorant
Oh,
because if I use it, I get nasty lesions and stuff.
oh yeah, yeah. I was getting that. I've gotten that too from, and they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like I had to stop using deodorant for like a year. And then it went away and I could finally use it again, which is great because it's way better.
It's great for everybody else.
Yeah.
Too.
I don't wear it for me. Like I'm okay with me. It's for everyone else around me. And then like the redness, like that's, you get that from stuff on the skin. What about wheezing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my son, big time.
Well, yeah, your son has asthma, right?
Well, he has the only time he ever had asthma, he's growing out of it now. The only time he ever had asthma was when he would get sick. Like if he had any kind of a cold, it was guaranteed we were going to have him on a nebulizer because his O2 stats would just plummet. So like any time that he started getting sick, we would proactively start him on the nebulizer. Otherwise, it was going to be a problem.
Right. And while we're not necessarily talking about the asthma right now, but that kind of wheezing, right?
There's a connection between and I don't want to overspeak. I don't want to overkick my coverage on this, but but there is a connection between asthma and allergens,
Right.
and oftentimes people who have asthma they also may have that aggravated by seasonal allergies.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
and like, it's not to say that it might not turn into a full on asthma attack, but those seasonal allergies or other type of allergies may, you might see some light wheezing that isn't necessarily like airway compromise, but it's like, you get some of that, that wheezing instead of necessarily stridor, right? Because one of those is more of a red flag than the others.
Yeah.
sure.
And we talked about some of the other ones like the itchy and watery eyes. But I think the common thread between those that they reiterated to us is like basically there's no airway compromise. Like that's the big thing. Like, okay, allergic reactions, yeah, they happen. They have different types of ways. Your body's going to have some sort of immune response to different things, but it's when it starts affecting the airway that's the big one.
Yeah.
That's the worrisome one.
There's a condition called scromboid poisoning.
Ooh.
And it's related to fish. And I had I brought a patient in who had immediate and severe GI upset after eating some fish. And, you'd think, oh, maybe food poisoning. Well, it turns out if that fish is not packaged or handled correctly after it's caught, fish will oftentimes release histamine into their systems.
Oh,
Jesus.
And here's one thing about it: you can't cook it out. That histamine stays in there, and so
yeah, I like my histamine well done.
Yeah,
honestly, like
so,
medium rare.
So think about it. We're talking about allergic reactions. There's histamine in this food product. She eats this fish and immediately and violently becomes ill.
Yeah.
And what it comes down to is she flooded her system with histamine from having eaten this fish. So
it's not even her histamine. It's the fish's histamine.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that, there's all these different things that can initiate this reaction inside the body.
Well, it's a complex system that's constantly trying to keep things from killing you.
Yeah, and sometimes it kills you.
And sometimes there's a friendly fire incident. It happens.
Yes.
And we have to deal with it.
Yeah, I stumbled, I was actually kind of, looking in between the differences because, like, to me, it seems like sometimes there's some similarities between the idea of, like, allergic reactions, especially anaphylaxis, and then, like, things like autoimmune diseases, which is actually, they have similar effects. Like, there's there's, like, an inflammatory cascade that happens in these autoimmune diseases, which can have some of these similar effects. But the big difference being, like, anaphylaxis is right now. Like, it is so acute.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, while autoimmune diseases have these long-term effects that happen over years and like damaged joints and other body tissues and all these things. But it's kind of the same thing in the sense that it's the body's systems, things that are supposed to be happening in haywire and kind of causing problems, even though they're supposed to do that. They're just doing it overly active, you know, or from a systemic standpoint. So for anaphylaxis, we talked about the signs of allergies. What are the signs of anaphylaxis?
So blood pressure.
That's the big one. Right. That I think that's probably one of the biggest defining factors of anaphylaxis is like it's the allergic reaction, but then it's also the hypotension, right?
Yeah. That sudden drop in blood pressure is a bad sign.
Yeah. Because that's, to me, that's the definition. Like if we're looking at this as a systemic problem, that's everywhere. Like your blood pressure's dropping. It's like, okay, that's going to affect everything.
Right.
So that's that one on top of like the airway stuff, I think is like a big one too. Like the difficulty breathing, the stridor that we see, swelling of the lips, the tongue, the throat itself, the epiglottis, I'm sure can swell as well. I like throwing those random.
You do it well.
You know. But yeah, but all the other allergic stuff or allergy symptoms can still happen too, right?
Yo, this is a question for Jonathan. Yeah. So do you generally see like the cyanotic, like the blue-gray skin?
I mean, that's going to be a later developing sign, right? That's going to be, it's really bad news if we start to see that. But yeah, you can see that, if that anaphylactic reaction has gone on and we started getting, some airway compromise in there, and they're not moving as much oxygen through their bloodstream and that sort of thing. So yeah, you can definitely see that.
Yeah, because that means they're already starting
hypoxic.
They're already hypoxic, right?
Yeah.
Which means that they've been restricted in their air for a while, and that they're not perfusing.
Right.
So it's almost like the body's not able to keep up with it.
I think that the general public and even my own perception before getting into EMS was we think about the hives, right? We think about the hives and the rash, but then we also think about the airway compromise. And those are kind of like the big things. But yeah, the hypotension, that's one that we don't want to miss out on and like acknowledge because it's big. The other thing, and we kind of already touched on it a little bit, but the GI upset, that's another thing that we see. And as we're talking about it, you may only have the two different body systems reacting, and oftentimes the GI upset is missed. So I want to emphasize, if you have some sort of reaction going on, like with the skin or maybe hypotension and GI upset, because that might be all you get.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It may not present because like I said, the perception is, oh well, hives and airway and all that stuff. But you may not have those. You may just have the hypotension, and you may just have the GI upset. And so you just got to keep an eye out. Maybe this could be, an allergic reaction or an anaphylactic reaction.
Yeah, for sure. Because and the thing that they emphasize to us is like, without treatment, without intervention, those things can keep, it essentially just keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
Right.
The body may stabilize at some point, but you don't know at what point that's going to stabilize.
Yeah.
And the airway stuff may not be the first thing that happens. It could be the second or the third or fourth thing in that kind of first it was the GI, and then it was the skin, and then, then their blood pressure started dropping. Oh, look, and now it finally got to the airway, right? So it doesn't necessarily all have to happen right at once, but it's going to happen quickly, maybe in series, right? I think the other one too that they had mentioned, which is obviously, where to me makes sense, because if you have a dropping blood pressure, If you have restricted airway, you're going to see the body starting to compensate, right? So you're
Yep.
going to see tachycardia. You know,
Yep.
the heart's going to start beating
Yep.
a lot faster to make up for the fact that, hey, where's the pressure? Like, hey,
Yep.
where did that
Yep.
go? And like, why is not enough oxygen coming in? So it's going to start pushing more. And then of course, like with that compensation, all that's going to probably lead to lack of perfusion, which
Yep.
is shock,
Shock.
right? So then we start
Yeah.
seeing clammy, cool skin, you know, all the other signs of shock in general.
Yeah.
And we have to start treating for that too,
Yeah.
you know? But yeah, so a lot of things, bad things from like, it could just, and it all starts happening right now.
Yeah.
Like it's an onset of seconds or minutes after whatever that allergen that comes in can cause this stuff.
Yeah. Like you don't have time. It's which is why they make they're so emphatic about like you need to intervene with this like now.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's a testament to why, like we were talking about in the last episode about stroke, how important it is for even lay people to have a sense of how to help with these types
Yeah.
of things and how to, you know, early recognition, calling for help, knowing, like we're going to talk about epinephrine and all that stuff. So like how to help with that stuff, even though you're not an EMT, right?
Yeah.
Because by the time we get there, I mean, the best scenario for a call time is usually like 5-6 minutes. Like that's short,
Yeah.
right? Unless you're
Yeah.
already on scene at like a standby, right?
Right.
But like, you know, 5 or 6 minutes, they're talking about this stuff. It could happen in seconds, 2
Yes.
minutes. So there's a gap there, and hopefully it's enough time for us to show up and help. But
Yeah.
you know, the people around you should know this stuff too. But yeah, anaphylaxis is super super concerning. So for us on the EMS side, the EMTs, the paramedics, right? What are the things that we have to do when we show up? Like,
ABCs.
well, yeah, it's
Like ABCs.
it's almost like it's a theme.
Yeah.
It's a cheat sheet. The
Yeah.
ABCs. The,
And I think if you get the call and you get the description of the call, even if they're not saying that they know it's an anaphylactic reaction, whatever, like your environmentals that you're rolling into is going to tell you a lot of what's going on. Like if you have these things and they're saying they're presenting as this, and you're responding to a baseball game, you know, in summertime, like this is a good chance that this is what this could be.
Right.
You know, so not that you want to necessarily be blind to anything else and like, you know, pigeonhole that one diagnosis, but like you have to have it present in your mind as you're rolling up on scene, as you're
Right.
going through your head of what this could be, of this is a distinct possibility, and the fact that it's as critical as it is, be ready to intervene immediately.
yeah, like I'm 100% already programmed in my brain based off of like the scenarios that we do in school. That like if I ever show up in a park, I don't care if there's snow on the ground. The first thing I'm asking is like, hey, did you get stung by a bee?
Have
Like,
you ever got stung by a dead bee?
because it's always in the park.
Yeah.
Like everybody in the park gets stung by bees and has anaphylaxis, or at least according to the scenario.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like there's some things that they do a pretty good job of programming into you. Like, you know, if it's in the park
Yeah.
and someone's having trouble breathing, hey, you know what? I bet you this might be anaphylaxis. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
may
Right.
not be, but hey, it's a good starting point, right? So we definitely have to like do that thing we do for everybody with the primary assessment, right? The ABCs, airway. That's I think probably the biggest red flag. Like obviously we've talked about that, like the airway compromise, right?
Yeah.
So what are we doing to make sure that
Listening to breath sounds.
yeah,
Watching how they're breathing, watching if they're doing that tripoding, like what are their body mechanics showing you, and
Right.
how hard it is for them to get a breath.
yeah,
Well, and I mean, you know, our airway, we're trying to establish, is it patent?
right,
Talked a bit about the stratter or the wheezing, right? Can I hear those things right off the bat? You know, as you're saying, Max, you know, with their breathing, what's the quality of their respirations? What, you know, are they breathing rapidly? Are they using accessory muscles? Are they tripoding? Are, you know, all the things. And then the circulatory aspect of it is, do we have that that swelling, that angioedema? Are we seeing that? And then are we also, as we're taking vital signs, are we seeing that hypotension? Are we seeing that tachycardia?
Right.
Those are some circulatory or cardiovascular kind of signs for us. Um, and really the big thing is if our protocol allows immediate intervention with medications,
Right.
because that is the answer. Is providing epinephrine to them if they're having an anaphylactic reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, that's the big one, right? Like, and like for me in my head, it always comes down to, and they emphasize this a bunch in class, of the key question of, are they sick or not sick? Like,
Right.
you show up and like, they're sick. Okay. Like right away you can see like either the breathing issue or like they look like they're death, right? Okay, we need to help with that.
Yeah.
And epinephrine being the one where it's like, oh, that's an immediate intervention that we should probably start thinking about as soon as we suspect the anaphylaxis, but also the other things that can help right away before you start getting into the secondary assessment of like oxygen.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, well,
Yes.
you even because there may be those situations where you don't necessarily have access to
Right.
epinephrine. They may
Right.
not have one, but like, okay, the problem is air. Let's get them some air, right? Like, let's, high flow oxygen, boom, to get like this. It's almost a trope at this point, like from the EMT side. Like, what do we do? Give them oxygen, all of it.
And transport.
Right.
Don't
Oxygen
forget
and
the transport.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's another thing too, is like in that initial assessment, I remember in one of our practice scenarios that hit me, and because I was doing, it was the bee sting scenario, right? And in my head, I was like, okay, scene is safe. I did my scene size up, general impression, went into primary assessment, identified in the primary assessment, okay, he's not breathing well. I suspect anaphylaxis. So then I was like, okay, I'm going to put high flow oxygen on with a non-rebreather. And then where I made a mistake was I went from that into the secondary assessment of like, oh, let me, like, did you get stung? Was there a stinger? I thought, okay, let's get the stinger out before I started addressing like the epinephrine as part of the primary assessment, rather than going to the body and saying like, what else can I start doing? I eventually corrected and kind of like went back to the primary assessment just to kind of bring myself home. But like, there's so much going on that it's so easy to get kind of distracted into the things down the line that you could be doing. And often, like, that was my kind of learning point from that scenario, is like, okay, I need to address the things in the primary assessment before I start moving on to anything else. So the high flow oxygen and the epinephrine as part of the primary assessment, and then immediately making the choice of, is this patient a high priority? Do I need ALS and transport? Because like in my head, I was going like, well, I got to figure out all that other stuff first, right? I got to figure out the secondary assessment. What happened? Was there a stinger? Like, who here can tell me what's going? Does he have a history of this stuff? And I'm like, no. Like at a certain point, you have to like have the discipline to go, no, we need to worry about like what we'd mentioned on previous podcasts, like what's important now,
Yes.
Right.
and worry about that, and then we could do the secondary stuff maybe in transit.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's early recognition that this may be anaphylaxis is the key component to it. And then, I mean, really, truly, all the other stuff is supportive. Yes, oxygen is important. Yes, rapid transport, definitely important. But if we have access to either, to some form of epinephrine that is for anaphylaxis in its dosage,
Yes.
we need to utilize that like as immediately as possible. And that's and everybody's, we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but everybody's protocol is going to be kind of different as to what they're allowed to do. Right at the EMT level, it may just be a situation of assisted with a patient's prescribed auto injector,
Right.
epi auto injector, or you may have access to, your agency may provide auto injectors or some sort of epinephrine delivery device for you to use per your protocol. But the big issue is that's so it's so protocol and region and state specific. If you're listening kind of across the country or across the world, your protocols may be different,
Right.
right? But the answer at the end of the day for that person is they need epinephrine because this is a life-threatening situation and they need it yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we might as well talk about like some of the intricacies of epinephrine here, because like it's part of that primary assessment, right? Before
Right.
you start even getting into details, into history, into the transport itself, like if you have it, it should be right then.
Yes.
And to your point, depending on your protocols, you may not have it. They
Right.
may have it. You know, hey, do you carry an EpiPen? That's when we start getting, and we had talked about this in the pharma into the drugs episode,
Right.
where it's like, okay, you might be able to administer from like the supplies of EMS or help them with their own, right?
Right.
So if they have their own, you do okay, let's use yours. Let's do the 5 rights, make sure it's theirs, make sure it's in it's not expired, it's the right dosage, all the stuff, right? But I guess the question is, if you see somebody having anaphylaxis and they don't have their auto injector, like what are the options?
Anyone else's?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, are we allowed to do that?
I think it depends on protocols, but depends on medical. But if you don't know, call medical command. This is my situation. I have someone that has one. Can I intervene with it?
Right.
Like get an answer from your superiors that you can do this thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's to me, that was hey, you know what? There's rules that exist, but sometimes there is the ability to break the
Yes.
rules, not on your own discretion, but
Well,
if you
and that's not really breaking a rule at
Sure,
that point.
yeah.
If you are talking with a physician about this, that is online medical direction.
absolutely, yeah, like
Doc,
they are, yeah,
this is what we've got, this is what protocol says, this is what I'm seeing. We have access to an EpiPen or some sort of epinephrine delivering device. We've been trained how to use this, but our protocol doesn't allow it. Are you giving me orders to do this? Will you give me orders to do this? Because I think this person would benefit from
Right.
receiving this. And that's, depending on your policies and whatnot, that may be the acceptable answer.
sure,
And, definitely keep in the back of your mind, I can call and ask for orders if I need
Right.
to.
yeah, and that's the theme, right? Like it doesn't yes, there are strict protocols that we follow for offline orders, but there is that whole online thing that can happen, like to help solve problems. So don't get lost in, well, I can't do it because I don't carry it on my ambulance, and that patient doesn't have an auto injector or their own
Right.
supply of epi. So I guess we're just going to not be able to do anything. Well, if someone around has one, okay, well, that is an option. Let's call. Let's
Yep.
see if we can use it. Oh, what if it's a kid and like all that's available is somebody's adult EpiPen? Well, that's not that, you can't use that dosage for a child, right? Especially if it's not prescribed to them. But it doesn't mean that you can't call and say, "Hey, doc, here's a kid here. He weighs X amount of,
Yep.
maybe he's closer to being adult
Right.
size. I have an EpiPen, not an EpiPen Junior. It's a 0.3 dosage instead of a 0.15. What would you like? Like, can I get orders to give this kid,
Right.
Right.
an adult EpiPen dose instead of the child? Or maybe this is me talking out of my butt, but maybe there's like, okay, we'll only hold it there for 5 seconds instead of 10. I don't know if that delivers less drug, but
I mean, generally that's not how those devices
Right, yeah.
work.
So-
but to your point, yes, there's a whole slew of scenarios we could talk about where it doesn't quite fit your protocol. It doesn't quite fit things, the way that we're necessarily, told we can do them based on, regional, local,
right.
agency
The offline
protocols
protocols that
yeah. Yeah. So, but the big thing is calling and asking for medical direction. Or, and I want to mention this, this is a time if you know, hey, we don't have access to this, and there's no way to get, or there's no way to immediately get access, whether that be through somebody else's EpiPen or get something, from an EMS provided, drug box or whatever. You can always request ALS or advanced life
Oh yeah,
support.
for sure.
Right.
And truly that should be, hey, dispatch, we're requesting ALS. Hey, then you call the doc,
Right.
right? So just getting that resource ball rolling and getting them coming to you, and maybe even meeting them and doing an intercept, meeting them en route,
Sure,
and then
yeah.
the medic or whoever gets on and provides that advanced life support care.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think in my head, there's certain things that I know I'm kind of pre-triggering in my or building up the Rolodex in my brain to have like immediate responses to. One of which is showing up on scene as a BLS provider and seeing somebody that is immediately in respiratory distress.
Right.
Having unless there's some other circumstances that are telling me I shouldn't, like having that like, hey, I should call ALS
Yes.
because
Right.
more than likely that should have come through as an ALS call in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, but we
you-
live in an
Yeah, you may show
we
up
live
on a
in that
thing.
imperfect world,
Yeah.
man, and man, there's so many times, and it's not dispatch's fault. They only can dispatch based on the information they receive.
Oh, absolutely.
And so if somebody's just playing it off or doesn't give them the appropriate information, they can only dispatch it based on what they get.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Like
but-
I'm thinking like sometimes
Yeah.
you get the call that's like, hey, this is a difficulty breathing call. Okay. Well, at least I know right away that like, well, that's interesting. Usually a difficulty breathing call is going to immediately trigger ALS, right? Or maybe it's not. Well, let me get there. And that may be the first thing that I really need to do on scene is
Right.
assess and go, oh no, this needs ALS. Like,
And there have been times, in my career as a BLS provider where just hearing the dispatch information and knowing, hey, this sounds like it could be an ALS call. Let's go ahead and get that ball rolling.
Yeah.
And requesting through dispatch even before we get there.
Sure.
Because you can always turn somebody away. I would
Exactly.
much rather somebody call me and not need me than to them to not call and then we're behind the 8 ball on that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
and I think the other thing too is like just conditioning yourself to like make that assessment at the scene size up, like the windshield assessment where it's like, hey, I should be checking myself each step along the way, be like, okay, I'm through my general impression. Do I need ALS? Okay,
right.
Maybe at that point I didn't think I did. All right, well, let's get into the primary assessment. Okay, primary assessment. Oh, they need some interventions right now, life-saving. We need to remind yourself that like, hey, at any point during the line, you don't have to wait to get through the whole cycle to then all of a sudden go, oh, I should have called ALS. Cause that actually happened to me too in the scenario I did, because I got so focused on like, oh, I have interventions I need to do. And I got into secondary assessment and then I was like, oh, I'm going to transport them and they're going to be a high priority transport. And I'm going to call ALS because I totally forgot to do that in the last 5 minutes and tell them, hey, we're rolling to the hospital. We'll meet you on the way. So it kind of like recovered a bit, but it's still like that should have come earlier, like timely activation of ALS.
Yeah, I think if at any point you see it as any kind of urgency, as anything that is life-threatening, as anything that is triggering your brain, oh my God, we got to get them rolling now. It's got to be an automatic switch for ALS.
Sure, yeah,
Has to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so epinephrine, we were chatting about that, and I've totally lost my notes. Oh, there it is. Okay, so yeah, like, oh, and the thing that I think was really interesting about epinephrine, which isn't necessarily true for every drug, being that it's so vital to that primary assessment and that kind of like immediate help for life-threatening illness. You don't need to go through this whole set of vitals before you do it.
Right.
Right.
It's like, hey, we get there, they're having respiratory problems, and they have an indication that it's like, they need help right now, and it's like probably anaphylaxis. Well, we're gonna do that epinephrine, like because
These people can't wait.
yeah, it can't wait. Like you have to do it. Like if you have airway swelling, if you have the hypotension, although you're not necessarily going to know about hypotension, but 2 of those anaphylactic kind of signs, and they have, oh yeah, I'm allergic to these things, and I think that might have happened. Okay, we're going right to that epinephrine now.
Yep.
Right.
And then getting a full set of vitals afterwards, and then tracking that to see if it helped. And then you may need to do another intervention or another administration of that epinephrine after a certain amount of time.
Right.
For a second dose.
Yeah. And I'll make the comparison to this, right? We talk about opioid overdoses and sometimes having to re-administer Narcan. Anaphylactic, because you still may have that opioid floating around the blood system, and they may have metabolized all that medication, all that Narcan, and you may have to redose them. The same exact thing happens in anaphylaxis, and you may have to redose somebody with epinephrine. So yeah, just being prepared for that. That's why if you've given an EpiPen, that's still a priority transport.
Yeah.
Even if you start to see the symptoms being alleviated, that's still a priority transport.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've talked about the primary assessment, the things that we're doing right away, and I think we kind of chatted before about too is like as we get into the secondary assessment, especially things like vital signs. But I do think it would be good to mention in here that the secondary assessment, especially the patient interview of like past history, is like the thing. Like that is probably like the biggest clue you can get from especially allergens, because like people know what they're allergic to for the most part.
And oftentimes if it's severe enough of an allergy to warrant them having a prescribed EpiPen that they carry with them all the time, they know.
Yep.
They absolutely know. So
yeah, and usually they'll be the one telling you, how bad this is about to get.
Yeah.
like I need to go to the hospital right now.
Yeah.
I knew a few people that had severe bee sting allergies, and they knew like and they would prompt people usually of like, hey, if I get stung by a bee and I tell you, here's where my EpiPen is, and I need you to start driving me to the hospital. Like we can't wait. Like you need to start driving like right away, because that's how bad it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, like asking those things like, hey, do you have any allergies? Like, has this happened before? What happened the last time? Like, how bad was it? While those may not be as important as the primary assessment stuff, it's still it could be very useful to know, especially in our role as being fact finders of then, as we're transporting them, if we have time to start going into some of that patient history stuff, we can relay that,
Yep.
And then of course so this is where the do you have epi thing like comes into play, because to me that's almost like a contradiction, because you have to ask them questions. And that question is actually kind of sort of the secondary assessment, although it's part of the primary assessment of like, do you have an EpiPen for me to use so that I can help you with your anaphylaxis right now? But hey, like that's splitting hairs.
It is. And I've seen it go both ways. I've seen it where somebody has an EpiPen and they've administered it to themselves even before you get there.
Sure, yeah.
Right. They know, like the people you were talking about with the bee stings. And then I've seen it to where they are so stressed out and their body's under so much stress that that they are unable to do that for themselves. But they have it. So
yep.
Yeah.
It can play out, multiple different ways. The one that like people who have EpiPens and they know they're allergic to stuff, I worry about them less and more about the folks who are having a sudden onset anaphylactic reaction and they've never had any anaphylaxis before.
Yeah.
In relation to whatever it is that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, and we're going to chat a bit more about anaphylaxis, I think, in our tools of the trade section.
We are indeed.
epinephrine. But I think there's some other things just that are good to mention here too, because obviously, if the epinephrine doesn't work or it doesn't work well enough, we're going to start having to move into other interventions as well, and some things that we do after that anyway. So, like in that secondary assessment, like if there's a bee sting, we should probably, attempt to remove the stinger. And if we're going to do that, we're going to do that with like a credit card type approach where we scrape it off and not squeeze it, right? Because
Why wouldn't you want to squeeze it?
well, so for those out there who are unaware, bees are fascinating. They have barbed. I don't know if we need to go this deep into bee stings, but they have barbed stingers and they stay in. And when they leave and they fly off, they actually rip out the back half of their abdomen.
They do.
And leaves a pumping, pulsating sac of venom that just keeps pumping stuff into you for as long as it still keeps going. So you can take that out to stop introducing some of that allergen with a credit card. But that is not as important as addressing the anaphylaxis symptoms.
Correct.
Right.
So you can do that. Just worry about the ABC stuff first.
Well, and I mean, so this would go along exactly with maybe removing a stinger, but removing the person from the environment or the thing that is causing them anaphylaxis, right? If they're still being exposed to that thing, let's get them away from that thing.
Hey, let's get you away from these hay bales, you hay allergic person.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we're going to lay you right on top of this giant stack of hay.
Oh, it's nice and soft and dry.
Yeah, well, our ambulance will just be a trail or what's the thing they tow behind a tractor? Just full of hay and medical implements and stuff.
Why does he keep dying? We don't understand.
I don't know. He just keeps reacting to the hay. But like you may have that. But okay, here's the more serious one. Say their airway does start closing up, they stop breathing.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We're going to do interventions to create an airway.
Well, you might be able to, but like, what's the first thing we go to? Like the thing that we like, if someone stops breathing, what do we do for them?
CPR.
Well, that's if their heart stops.
Well, BVM. So we use our BVM.
Ventilation.
Right?
Yeah.
Ventilating them.
Ventilating them.
If their heart stops,
Then CPR.
Then CPR. Yeah. Like those are the bread, tried and true bread and butter, right? So, they stop breathing, BVM.
Yeah.
Right. The manual ventilation. Are these patients stable or not stable?
No, because they're not breathing.
Well, they may not be breathing right now, but
even if you improve it, it doesn't matter. But they're still critical.
Anaphylaxis in general,
yes,
I think we're going to classify into the unstable patient, right? The priority patient, whatever you want to call it. So, are we doing 5 minutes or 15 minutes? 5 minute, reassessments, right? Are we like? I think this is the big one for us as EMTs. Like, are we prioritizing transporting them to higher levels of care, or are we hanging around and treating them on scene?
I mean, quite honestly, like if you have airway and all these things, they're immediately being transported. You can take care of the vitals and all the other stuff once they're in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Like, do your life-saving interventions, get them in the ambulance, get rolling.
Yeah, prioritize transport, right?
I am not a stay and play kind of guy.
Yeah. Load and go.
I am a load and go. And here's the thing, like, even if it's not quite there's some things on scene that I wanna do. If it's a cardiac call, before I move that person, I wanna get a 12 lead. But other than that, I can do everything that I might do in a house in an ambulance. So I'd rather do it in the ambulance. All my stuff's there, and we can start rolling towards the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So absolutely, in these patients, we want to load and go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, there's a lot of things to consider when it comes to anaphylaxis, things that we can do. Ultimately, it's, ABCs, epinephrine, doing the stuff that we do for every patient, making sure that they don't die.
Yeah, it is her job.
and that old pedal on the right, the
lights, sirens, go fast.
like get them to higher levels of care, prioritize transport, right?
Yes.
What about kids?
Mm-hmm.
Anything to keep in mind with kids?
Well, so they're going to crash faster. So
Well-
they're going to compensate and then go off a cliff.
That's what they say, right?
Yeah,
like
that's what they say.
how kids usually react to bad things, but
And if we've got pediatrics, we need to remember they're going to tolerate airway compromise way less than an adult would.
Right.
They just don't have the airway size to move volume like an adult might.
yeah,
And we've got to not play around with them. So if we need to give them epi, then they need to get it.
right, yeah, and it's funny to say like, oh well, we need to even move faster with kids, but you do because like they will go downhill faster, right? Like the airway will just swell up faster. It's smaller, but and then if that does happen, if we do have epi on hand, is there any considerations with the epi?
Yeah, the dosage.
Right? Well, what's
Yeah,
the dosage for?
So for an adult, it's 0.3.
Mm-hmm.
And then for children, it's half that, so 0.15.
0.15 milligrams, right?
Yep.
So if you're using the name brand auto injector, there is a difference in those. What like the adult one is EpiPen, and then the child one is EpiPen Junior.
Right.
It's almost like it tells you on it what it is.
Well, it doesn't really tell. I was like, oh, I bet you the junior one is the kid dose, and it is. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's based on size too. So like 25 to 35 or 25 to 30 kilograms. It's not necessarily age.
Metric system.
Yeah, I don't. Jonathan, what's 25 to 30 kilograms? Are you good at the conversion stuff?
55.
I still have to think about it.
55
but yeah,
to
so
66 pounds.
55 to 66?
Yes.
Oh wow.
2.2.
Yeah, 2.2.
Oh.
So yeah, you can do you can multiply whatever your kilograms are by 2 and then add 10%.
Okay.
And that's a kind of a quicker way to get that conversion there in your head.
Is there an easy way to go in reverse?
Yeah, well, I mean, so you're just going to do the reverse thing. If you're trying to determine, you have kilograms and you have pounds and you're trying to determine kilograms, you would now I can't think about it. You would divide by 2, and then subtract it, and then subtract 10%.
Okay, so have it and subtract 10%. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Well, I think I might be able to handle that. Maybe. I don't know.
We could just all use the same thing.
Well, I would not mind if the whole world went to metric system.
I mean,
I wouldn't
divisible by 10 and whatever.
Yeah,
anyway.
base 10 is amazing.
Yes.
And everything in medicine. I mean,
yep.
Here we still kind of use a mix of things, but like all your drug dosages, it's going to be in metric.
Mm-hmm.
Milligrams, milliliters, kilograms.
Yeah.
Micrograms.
And then the one last thing that they mentioned about kids, or that I read about kids, is that we should really watch for the subtle early signs, because they may not have ever had an allergic reaction before. They may not know what it feels like coming, right?
Yeah.
But like, looking for the other signs, the drooling, because kids, usually have signs of drooling when they have like that kind of airway closing up stuff. And rashes, irritability, because if it looks like they're changing behaviors, it might be because that they're feeling symptoms of allergens and that anaphylaxis coming on. So
just a quick story. I picked up a 2-year-old out of an urgent care one day, and Dad was carrying him out to the ambulance, and the urgent care was very ho-hum about the whole thing. But when Dad turned around and I finally saw the kid, a 2-year-old, mind you, his bottom lip, he got stung by a bee. His bottom lip was as swollen as an adult's thumb.
Wow.
Yeah. And then immediately following that, as soon as he got into the ambulance, he threw up all over the place. So what does that tell you? That is an anaphylactic reaction.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like we just, there are subtle signs and then there are obvious signs, but like you said, Mike, you may not know if the kid's been exposed, especially if they're young, right? 2 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. And he doesn't know. He can't tell you. Like,
Right.
he just feels pain or a weird sensation in his lip,
Yep.
you know?
Or depending on
Yep.
age, may not be able to tell you a damn thing.
Right. Right. So kids are, man, I deal with Cub Scouts a lot. Like the idea of kids out in the woods and at camp and all that stuff with the idea of like, that scares me. But I mean, like, that's also one of the things of like, one of the reasons I'm going through EMT school is because I want to be able to, like, I never wanted to be in a spot in life where like, a kid needed help and me go, I don't know what to do. Like, this has given me that basis to go, I know what to do next. Right. Like I can fall to some training. I can prioritize. I can worry about, primary assessment, secondary assessment. So like, aside from just the fun aspect of kind of going into the EMS side, like personally, I'm already feeling, confidence and like capability in terms of, like, I feel like if those types of things would happen in my life, that I know what to do next. So I find this whole process very rewarding. But yeah, so kids, what about the elderly, the geriatric population?
The interesting thing is what you wrote about the beta blockers, that it actually can mute the epi response.
Well, yeah, beta blockers reduce heart rate, right?
Right.
So if epinephrine is one of the effects is a vasoconstrictor, right? And it increases heart rate. A beta blocker kind of works against that.
Right.
Right.
So the elderly population, if they're on beta blockers, can like, they may not get the full effect of epinephrine.
And I mean, in general, their bodies aren't able to compensate. So you have that higher risk for shock, which makes complete sense.
Yeah.
And then cardiac disease mimicking a lot of the symptoms that we're potentially seeing, whether it's, the respiratory distress or the hypertension, all those things. It's one of those things where, like, if you see an older person, like, you may have a lot of things going on, and trying to identify what the cause is could be really tough.
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind with elderly people is that they usually have a bunch of health problems in the first place. So if you layer on top of like this systemic allergic reaction that is then, causing things to go haywire across like their vital systems.
Right.
I think it just adds a whole nother level of like, oh, this could get bad quick. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of the full story really of things that we saw and learned about anaphylaxis, ways that we can help with it, things that we need to look for, different things to look out for in different situations. And really, a lot of the discussion, I'll admit, revolved around epinephrine.
Sure.
Because it is so important to the story of anaphylaxis, and it's really a good intervention that we have in our toolbox to be able to address that, but also not losing sight of the other things that we need to look out for, and what do we default to?
Right.
If, okay, yeah, the epinephrine's not working. Well, we still have other things that we can do, right? Like we still have a job to do, and that's get them to higher levels of care and worry about the ABCs and do what we can to keep that stuff going, even if we don't have epinephrine handy. But speaking of epinephrine, it's almost like we planned this.
It's almost like we did.
I think we have a tool of the trade this week that has a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and we've mentioned it a few times, and tool of trade this week is the EpiPen.
The EpiPen.
Let's be clear, that is a brand.
It is a brand, yeah.
It is an administrator of epinephrine, but it is a brand. And there are other brands out there. They're kind of, from what I saw, they have different ways of, they look differently. But the EpiPen is kind of the one I think in like common culture is identifiable. Like, I think people have seen it enough on TV, in movies, to be able to identify that is an EpiPen. Yeah,
and it's like calling a tissue a Kleenex.
Exactly.
Right? Like epinephrine, usually people refer to it as, do you have your EpiPen?
Exactly. And generally, it has a plastic sheet that it sits in. So what you see is not the EpiPen. It is the holder for the EpiPen. There is a blue top that you pop, and then the EpiPen comes out. And then I think we mentioned it earlier is making sure that you have the right end of the EpiPen being administered against the body, because there is the acronym of blue to the sky, orange to the thigh.
Well, yeah, I think that's important to reiterate though, because like if you're helping somebody administer their EpiPen, you should be like, if they're holding it on their thigh, you're wrapping your hand around their
Right.
hand to help them administer their own medicine. Or if you're doing it yourself, like making sure that the fist that you're making around it does not go over, like it's just in case you mess up and point the thing in the wrong direction. You're not putting anything in front of that needle that isn't supposed to be there, because it's hidden. Like it's an auto injector, right?
Yeah.
So like it's a spring loaded thing that when you push it against something, that needle comes out
Exactly.
on a trigger. So you don't immediately know which end the needle is
Yes,
unless
'cause
you're
it's
trained.
It's not like you see a needle coming out of it.
Right. It's not
Right.
like, oh, that thing's sharp, let me not
Yeah,
touch
exactly.
it. Like in the heat of the moment, I could totally understand somebody going like, oh, let me mash that thing down with my thumb on top of it to get that extra bit of oomph, and all of a sudden getting the pointy end through the top.
Yeah.
That does happen.
It happens.
I have no doubt. The fact that they mentioned it more than a few times during class would tell me that it happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
So the EpiPen has an interesting history that's rooted in military technology for nerve agent antidotes.
Oh, like atropine?
Yes.
Oh.
So in the 1970s, the U.S. Department of Defense sought a device for soldiers to self-administer the nerve agent antidote, which is atropine. And a guy named Sheldon Kaplan designed an auto-injector system to meet the need. And his invention was called the combo pen.
Oh, the combo.
The combo pen. Eventually, they recognized that this could also be used for delivering epinephrine, which they had it marked as adrenaline. So I don't know what the difference is between epinephrine and adrenaline.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing. Okay.
It's the exact same thing.
And before this, it was a little more complicated, or they had to use ampules, like we were talking about, with some ambulances having the ability to put it through IV. But this simplified kind of the whole process.
Yep.
And from 2007 to 2016, the EpiPen sales increased significantly. Obviously, it was FDA approved in 1987. And there was also some legislation that encouraged schools to stock the devices. And so, in 2018, the FDA approved the first generic version of the EpiPen to bring costs down, which is another thing to talk about.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah. Integration into EMS. It seemed to kind of follow the same timeline. In 1999, Washington State passed the Christine Kastner Act, which required all EMTs to be trained and equipped to administer epinephrine using auto-injectors. And it's become just ubiquitous that this is something that is used to intervene in an anaphylactic shock. So it's kind of a brief history and an introduction into EMS.
Yeah, and I think there's a few key questions. One big one that I had about
Yes.
EpiPens in general is maybe you guys can help me out on this. So why is there not an EpiPen on every ambulance ever?
Because they're friggin' expensive.
Cost.
Cost? No.
Cost.
No way. We use expensive stuff in EMS all the time, though.
So I can tell you that the first one that was ever prescribed for my family, I believe our cost after insurance was $450. And this was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is right now, but that was our cost with insurance.
Well, there's a reason that, and even the generics are expensive, but there's a reason that a generic auto injector was made.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that other devices have been created in the vein of auto injectors outside of that EpiPen brand. And cost is a primary one of them. Or is the primary one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I looked it up before the podcast. I know this is a bit of leading conversation because I'm sure everyone who's listening to this is probably aware that there is controversy and, a kind of public understanding of EpiPens being really expensive. So I was like, well, I wonder how expensive they are. Well, I looked it up and like it's $600 to $800 retail cost for EpiPen. Right, the dual injector, like you get two in a pack, right? So it's like $600 to $800. Is that what ambulance companies are and like hospitals are paying? Probably not.
I doubt
they get bulk buying rates.
Yeah.
So, but you're still looking at like $400 to $500. And while we use these insanely expensive things in EMS, like a Life Pack 35, for instance. Do you know how much a Life Pack 35 is?
Isn't it? Are you talking about the 12 lead?
Well, the heart monitor.
Yeah, it's like $15,000.
Oh no, that's
not more than that.
No. The new ones that our ambulance service has, they're $80,000.
Is that all?
Yeah. A Life Pack 35 from Stryker is about $80,000. I didn't know that until I went to EMS World Expo and saw the prices. I'm like, oh my god. Now, are they? That's retail. Is every place paying retail? Probably not. But like.
About 50 or 60K.
Yeah, like they're very expensive. So we obviously don't shy away from spending money, but it's money for what purpose? And is there other things available to fill the same purpose, right? So, I just looked it up real quick too. The generic forms of the pen, the auto injectors are about about $300 to $700 depending on the generics. So a little bit less expensive, but it's almost like a price gouging thing that's going on because if there aren't enough generic companies to create competition, then there aren't going to drive the prices down because they are still competing against each other.
Yeah. Here's an aspect of this as well. The expiration date of EpiPens or Epi auto injectors. Epi is one of those drugs that expires very quickly.
Yeah, 12 to 18 months, right?
Yeah, it significantly loses its efficacy. So think about it. Most folks are having to buy an EpiPen every year. Yeah, and there's no way, man.
Yeah, like. And how often are they being used? That's it. Like if they used one every few months or so, people would be like, "Oh, it's an easy answer." If you have a very active service that gets a lot of anaphylaxis calls, but I think the reality is most ambulance services are not getting a lot of those calls, so they have to throw these things out every year, and it's like, "Oh, here's $800 down the drain." Whereas like other things that cost a lot of money, it's like, well, we get use out of that every single call, so it's price per like it's price versus usage.
But wait, clearly epinephrine is hideously expensive, right?
Oh well, this is another leading question because I know we talked about this before the podcast, and like this is the craziest part about it because a vial of epinephrine, like the equivalent amount of drug that's in a EpiPen, $3.
It has to be a typo.
$3 because the drug is generic and it costs nothing basically to put it in a vial. So that's why every like ambulance service out there is basically moving towards this model if they can, based off of their protocols and their state, legislature, whatever it is. They're moving towards a model where they're like, hey, we're going to buy vials of epinephrine and you're going to inject it.
Yes, because we are fine with throwing away $3.
Well,
at the end of the year, but we're not okay with throwing away $800.
But it's not just what they're okay with throwing away. It's like, where are they putting the money? So like, I'm actually okay with this from first off, just to throw this out there too, Pennsylvania is a state that does a thing called check and inject, which from even a BLS provider standpoint, we can take an additional CE continuing education class, and then we can be certified to do check and inject, which is great because I think there should be more things that as EMTs we have the ability to kind of add on to our skill set. So we don't usually get to draw from vials with a needle and a syringe, check dosage, and administer things.
Right.
But we can with epinephrine because it's life-saving. The benefits outweigh the potential risks. So I think that's a great thing to almost use as a stepping stone for other more advanced procedures that
Sure.
BLS providers obviously have the ability to do.
Right.
So either way, is it slowing down the process? Maybe. I don't understand why there isn't like a pre-filled syringe
Thank you.
for epinephrine, because that would seem to that I think that would
Wouldn't that make
probably make a
sense?
lot of sense. But
Yeah. I got nothing. So in Virginia, several of the agencies that I work with and work around, we have went to something called a Certidose. And so it is a graduated syringe and needle combo that you draw your dosage from a vial, and it comes with a color guide, and each of the graduations is color coded, and that corresponds within the color guide with a weight. So it is a weight based administration within that guide, and like you're saying, it's like a continuing education thing, where agencies can train their folks on how to use it, but even those are, I mean, they're like $150 a pop, but
still better than
than $800 a pop or $600 a pop.
And what you're throwing away isn't the entire thing, right? You're just throwing away the vial, or do you
Right.
or does the whole thing expire?
Everything in medicine has an expiration
Right,
date.
yeah,
I'm not.
true.
I don't want to talk out of turn and say, but it's a solution
Sure.
to the problem of this. I'll say price gouging that's going on.
Yeah.
It's. Yeah,
So
I could talk about this on a soapbox for quite a while.
yeah, I mean this is our soapbox. And like what really started getting me thinking about this was I realized the other day, because I was digging through the ambulance at one of my services, and I was going through the medications box, and I was like, okay, so let me start really digging into this and like memorizing where stuff is, so I know I can assist and I can be the Johnny on the spot for my team, right? Like, and I'm like, where is the epinephrine? Like, I'm like, I didn't know where to look, so I'm in the medications box, and I'm like, oh, okay, and I'm reading all the little vials, and I'm like, what? And then I come across this one that is. I was like, what is this? It looked like a prop from Harry Potter. Like it's not like what I would think of as a vial with like the metal cap with like the rubber insert so that you can draw out of it. It's literally a metal a glass vial with a glass top that you have to break off.
Yeah.
Like you have to break the glass to open this vial. I'm like, I've never seen that before.
So that's called an ampule.
An ampule. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to break the ampule open, and then with the ampule is a filter straw.
Yep.
That you have to then use to draw up into the syringe, and you have to use the filter straw because it may have glass in it.
Yes.
This is archaic. Like, but hey, it's there. So now I know where it is at least. And you draw it up into the ampule, you draw out of the ampule into the syringe through the filter straw. Then you swap out the filter straw for a needle on the end of the syringe, and then you can eject, right?
You know how you can fix that?
How is that?
Have it be like every other vial and not need a friggin' filter straw for it.
So
A crazy idea.
So, and this is just kind of across the board, ever since, and sometimes even before COVID, but ever since COVID, supply chain issues have been a big thing. And so what we've had to do is if we need a particular drug, it may not come in the exact form you're used to buying.
Yep.
So
Gotcha.
a vial would be preferred, but maybe ampules was the only thing that we could get, or
Right.
It's one of those things. Ampules are a little bit of an older technology.
I mean, really,
but-
the thing was, it wasn't necessarily like a slight against what we have, because at a certain point, it's like
Sure.
it doesn't matter. But it was just me, like I had this realization, I'm like, this is ridiculous. The fact that EpiPens, like a convenient, fast solution to be able to administer life-saving drugs, are so freaking expensive
Mm-hmm.
that we on an ambulance service cannot afford them. While, and I know that I'm not trying to get political on this. It's literally just because it's another drug that's at our disposal. But like Narcan is
candy.
is basically like subsidized,
Yeah.
where it's like
It is.
you can they're giving it out for free,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, how is that? How do you rectify that? And it really, it's like and it's the same thing, same like story as insulin, right? Like the fact that
Yeah.
insulin is still so expensive for people that need it. Epinephrine is so expensive for people, or EpiPens, I should say, because epinephrine isn't expensive, but a convenient and logical way to administer it is.
Yes.
You know, it's not even like you can hold the pharmaceutical companies accountable for that. It's literally whoever decided to like, oh yeah, we're going to charge $800 for a plastic spring container with a needle on it. Like, how do you justify that?
But even in that, even if they did a simple way of, okay, you've bought this plastic applicator thing that we have all these patents on, change out the damn dosage or the vial of the drug. Make it so that you can take it out, put a fresh one in.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have to buy an $800
Exactly.
thing every year.
That's in my mind what really makes it just completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because if the expiration date is on the drug and they're not giving you an ability to change it out, and you're having to pay for the whole kit and caboodle, come on.
They should have to replace them for free.
Yes.
Honestly. I think that's what they should have to do. Like, you want to charge $800 for an EpiPen, fine, but you should allow somebody to trade it in every year.
I wonder what their production cost on one is.
40 cents.
I was going to say 25.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that kind of got me about this whole issue was the fact that they've always had a price to them, but there was, and I don't want to again talk out of turn, but I remember when the company who produces it was like, yeah, we're raising the prices, and they significantly raised the prices on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, this technology has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're raising, I don't.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's already FDA approved.
Since
It's
the
not
80s.
like-
yeah.
Since the 80s. Yeah. I don't.
Usually you get a 12-year patent on like pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that I think they're probably cornering it. Well, I guess there is a generic, but somehow the generics even are stupid expensive. So there's probably some sort of factor that we're not really considering, and that we're looking at it from a one perspective, but still, I think it's that perspective that really, it matters. Like, from the EMS side, like, we should have the tools available that are the best tools, that the things that we can, and people should have tools available for life-saving implements. So,
Well, and the thing that gets me about, especially, and this isn't to, cast a shadow on anything else, any other life-saving medication, but this is something that truly nobody had any control of whatsoever.
Right.
This is just a thing that happened to you.
yeah, the world literally said, "Hey, I'm gonna mess up your
body-
day."
Yes.
Yeah.
Nature's
Your
like-
body literally
yeah.
is just attacking itself.
Exactly.
I don't know, man.
Well, yeah.
I got heartburn about it.
Well, we, I'm sure we'll kick up a hornet's nest with this one in some way. Hopefully, we don't get stuck.
Yeah.
But
Cease and desist.
yeah,
Right. Exactly. Could you please delete that episode? Thank you very much.
yeah. Well,
We'll be in touch.
luckily we're not that popular. But no, for anyone out there, I'm sure you'll share in some of those frustrations, or maybe you have some insights as to, like, you guys are idiots. This is why it is. Tell us.
Yeah.
We welcome the conversation. Shoot us a note. ridealongpodcasting@gmail.com. Interact with us. Let us know what you got going on. Do you share the opinion on EpiPens and those things? We want to know. We want to know how you're doing, what it's like in your service.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's our tool of the trade this week.
Yep.
With the EpiPen,
The EpiPen.
which leads us to our last segment of this episode, our student tip of the week. And for that, we'll kick it over to our resident paramedic, Jonathan.
So, Max gave me a great idea today for a student tip of the week. So I'm going to give Max a little credit for this. As you're going through your clinical ride-alongs and your patient contacts and things like that, we were talking about documentation. And one of the things that you can start to do as you are riding along and writing things down, you're going to have forms that you need to fill out for your EMT school regarding your patient context. So definitely fill those out, but start writing a narrative in the style of the services that you're riding with or the agencies you're going to be working with. Ask one of the providers that you're riding with if they could provide you with an example of a report that maybe is redacted, or like I don't write identifying patient information in my narratives. So maybe get some sort of example to start to get an idea of how to write your narratives, and you'll be that much more ahead when you finish EMT school and start practicing on your own. So
yeah, I think
it's
that
definitely
I'm sorry.
it's definitely the time to practice now. So
yeah, start doing it now. I mean, like the same thing with like either patient reports or patient contacts in general, or patient handoffs. Like start practicing.
Yeah.
Look at the way people are doing it, and in your head recite it. If someone's charting something or like writing down the narrative, like I've found it like super useful to like, hey, I'm gonna write down, like in our patient contact forms, we have a section for like, what the narrative is. It's not very extensive, but it allows us to kind of put in like, what did you see? What, that stuff. So taking the time to write it in there and be accurate about it and, using proper terminology.
Yep.
Important.
And if you're a preceptor listening to this and you precept EMT students or paramedic students, try and find a report or a narrative for them to look at and maybe give them a handout, in regards to a guide that they can follow. That's something that could be useful if you're a preceptor as well.
Cool. Well, thank you, sir, for the tip of the week. I think that's great advice for us to start diving in and, becoming more proficient as EMS professionals.
Absolutely.
But I think that brings us to the end of this episode. We've gone pretty long on this one. I think we're at like 2 hours. So if you're still listening, thank you. We appreciate it. We love taking the journey with you. And thank you for taking the ride with us. We'll see you the next time on the Ride Along. This podcast is for educational and storytelling purposes only. It is not medical advice or official EMT training. Always follow your accredited instructors and local protocols.
Heartbeats racing in